Welcome back to Two Idiots, One Podcast. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Bailey.
And today, Bailey, I just want to ask you a simple question.
All right, hit me with it.
How far is too far?
In regards to what, though?
In regards to anything, like if you're, you have explosive diarrhea, right? And you're on the other side of Walmart.
If you have explosive diarrhea and you leave the house, that's too far, in my opinion.
What if it hits, like, if you have IBS or something and it hits you and you're on the other side of Walmart and you know that the restrooms are up at the front, but you're in the back. So you got a dead sprint. Is that too far?
No, I would dead sprint for sure, because you know that the alternative is accidentally pooping your pants, and we all know what you have to do if you poop your pants in public.
Well, I mean,
I'm not going to say it, but we all know.
Yeah, you go and get another pair of underwear because you're at Walmart. You buy the 5-pack or whatever for however much money that is. I mean, that's what you do, right?
No.
Okay, well, what about if you're on a long road trip and you're about to leave town and you know the next town is like 50 miles away, but you're having this internal debate where you're like, is it too far to wait the 50 miles to go to the bathroom? Because I really don't want to chance it with this gas station bathroom.
I would probably risk the gas station bathroom over the 50 miles because you don't want that. You don't want to have to, like, ruin your pants in your car ride.
I mean, honestly, ruining my pants in the car ride is kind of unthinkable. Like, I just don't think that would be a possibility if I did that.
That would definitely be an unthinkable thing for me as well.
You know what's also unthinkable?
Our movie this week?
Our movie's unthinkable?
Yeah. By, Gregor Jordan.
The Gregor Jordan, 2010, Unthinkable, starring Samuel L. Jackson, Martin Sheen, and Carrie Ann Moss.
It's Michael Sheen.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I thought you said Martin.
I don't know. If I said Martin, I apologize to Emilio Estevez and Charlie Sheen's dad. They are two totally different people. And okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna listen to that recording, and I'm gonna go ahead and say that I did say Michael Sheen, Martin Sheen. I don't know. I get those two people confused. It's the British guy. That's what I'm gonna say. The British dude. Whichever Sheen is the British Sheen.
Exactly. It's definitely Michael, though.
Okay.
Regardless of what was initially said, I don't know if I may have misheard.
No, I may have misspoke, but now I'm saying Michael Sheen, who has never appeared as the father of Charlie Sheen in the movies, okay, and in real life, or Emilio Estevez, who are all great actors in their own right. Although Charlie Sheen kind of just, tiger's blood. You remember that?
Not really.
Oh, man, that was a whole huge... When he did that interview with that was when he was at his low point. But that's not the topic.
No, the topic is 2010's Unthinkable.
I mean, it does have kind of a stacked cast, though.
It really does, with Carrie Ann Moss, who you probably remember from the Matrix movies. And, Samuel L. Jackson, who you probably remember from literally everything.
Well, I mean, yeah. The best actor in the world, yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but he's definitely in a lot of good stuff.
Name one bad Sam Jackson movie.
I can't think of any off the top of my head.
See, you can't, because there is none, because even his quote-unquote bad movies are not because of him.
No, I agree with that, but there was a period of time where he was taking roles in a lot of obscure things, and some of those that I saw I wasn't a huge fan of, but I can't distinctly remember any of them currently.
But was he bad?
No, he did well. He's always good.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like, you can take the worst movie in the world, and as long as you put Sam Jackson in it, it's just okay.
I mean, that's a fair perspective.
I mean, he does play this role very well.
Yeah. He plays the role of H.
Or Henry Humphreys, I think is what he goes by.
Henry Harold Humphreys.
Henry Harold Humphreys, Triple H.
Yeah.
That's who it is. He's the game. He knows all about the game and how to play it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's a big wrestling fan.
Yeah, I really was surprised when he didn't, spit water when he entered, but that's not the point. If anybody gets that, haha, and if you don't get that, watch the greatest era of wrestling. I'm going to go ahead and say that. I'm going to go on record and say that. So, with that being said, Bailey, what did you think of it? What did you give it on a scale from 1 to 5?
So this movie is a little bit different than any movie we've done up to this point. We've generally stuck to horror or horror adjacent, and I would call this more of a thriller. That being said, I still enjoyed this, but I would probably give it about a 3.5 maybe.
Okay, so you and I are about the same. I give it a 3.5. Now, RogerEbert.com gave it a 3 because that's what they do on the Roger Ebert scale, which ironically enough isn't even it's not even him contributing to it, but it's just RogerEbert.com. So I don't know what he actually gave it, but this is what the website gave it. Now, what is this movie about?
So this movie has like various layers of what it's about. On the surface level, it's about an interrogator, an FBI agent, and a terrorist. And it's about the interrogator trying to get information from the terrorist, and the FBI agent disagreeing with the interrogator's methods for the most part.
I mean, yeah, it's the basic premise.
And then on a deeper level, it's about the morality of what is too far. Like, how far is too far in regards to getting information from someone who is potentially trying to harm people? And how much evidence do you have for it to be okay to do, quote unquote, unthinkable acts?
And is it ever really okay? Who is it okay for? Because that's what we're going to explore today. Because honestly, there's not really much to this movie if you just take it at surface level. I mean, if you take it at surface level, it's about a dude being tortured and two people disagreeing with it.
Yeah, exactly.
But we don't take anything on surface level. We're going to dig deeper. So, get us started, Bailey.
So, well, where the movie basically starts out is it starts out with Michael Sheen making a video explaining what he's done, which he states that he's placed 3 bombs around the city.
So can I just interrupt and say that I really enjoyed this because of the way that he just portrays his character, because he makes like multiple attempts at it.
Yeah, you see him recording it with, where he uses his given name, which is Steven. And then
Steven Younger.
Yeah. Steven something Younger.
Yeah.
But then he changes it to Yusuf.
And when he does that, you can see how he just changes completely.
His demeanor changes.
Yeah, because Steven's this neurotic mess of a guy who can't figure out what he's going to say. He knows that he's making this bomb threat video, but he can't. And he portrays that very well. And then as soon as he says, my name is Yusuf, whatever, he immediately just this stone cold expression, which is kind of creepy.
Yeah, no, he did very good. I think all of the acting in this, from our 3 main actors,
our titans of the industry, our heavy hitters.
Yeah, they all did phenomenal.
Oh, yeah. And then after that, it takes place with the FBI agent doing,
the FBI agent, Agent Helen Brody, which is portrayed by Carrie Ann Moss. And basically what it is it's an intro to her character where it shows that she's, in charge of all of these different, and there are various agents under her.
She's like the head honcho. It looks like she's been promoted.
Yeah, she's a boss type person.
The only thing that's really relevant in this part is they get a confidential file on somebody whose name has been redacted and everything has been, or his name hasn't been redacted, but he's in like witness protection. And everything has been redacted about him. This is confidential. And then they show up to his house. He gets mad, and that's when they basically rope him in and her into this. They take him to the secret compound for the military.
And it propels us into the story where the things that we are actually going to focus on begin, which is the torture to get information from, this possible terrorist. Exactly, Yusuf.
Yeah, because most of this movie takes place in this warehouse school area, which I do want to comment on the setting.
Yeah, I thought the setting was really good. It gave like a really confined and ominous vibe.
Well, and the best part was when they were doing it. So one thing that I really appreciate, have you ever seen Taxi Driver from I think it was
Yes.
like 76. So you know how New York City had garbage everywhere that was just lining the streets, so you really got that filth feel.
Yeah, they had a lot of trash and stuff on the floor in the hallways here.
So it looked to me like it was a school that had been abandoned, which almost makes it a little bit worse to know that these things are going on inside of this former school. But everything's piled up, and there's papers that have been thrown everywhere.
Desks stacked up against the window.
Yeah, I mean, it looked really good. I think that the set design for this was phenomenal.
Absolutely.
So, but they basically reintroduce the characters to each other who don't like each other, and then brief them on this guy has been held captive for 24 hours. And what is going to happen is they are going to extract information from him in order to figure out where these bombs are, because they have until Friday. Because this movie starts out on a Monday and then goes to Tuesday, which I think Tuesday is where we pick up.
Yeah, Tuesday is when everyone meets in the headquarters.
Yeah. Which even that, so I really liked how this set up Samuel L. Jackson's character, because there are multiple instances of the military guys seeing him and just despising him. Like, they don't say anything, they just give him this look, and then he smiles and laughs and says, yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, you guys need me.
You need me, and you know it. And then he basically, the scene that really propels it into, because up until this point, Samuel L. Jackson's character has been a complete mystery. You don't know who he is, but he's very important. We know that. And he has special clearance.
Right.
But he bursts into the torture chamber where their
interrogation room.
I'm sorry, interrogation room. We'll get into what it is, because I think that does play into it. But he bursts in there and says, basically this stuff's not going to work. And then the interrogator, quote unquote, is, looking at him and saying, back up, don't touch him, get away from him. And then he just goes, like, Samuel L. Jackson just goes ballistic on him and starts beating him with something.
Yeah, he assaults the interrogator.
Yeah, and he's like, I didn't assault the guy. I don't know what the problem is. As they're, hauling him out of there.
Well, so one interesting thing I'd like to point out about this is this actually plays into a lot of what Samuel L. Jackson's character does throughout the movie, because he makes it clear that he's trying to play mind games with Yusuf or Steven,
Yes.
Michael Sheen.
You mean Martin Sheen?
No, I mean Michael.
Yeah, I'm just messing with you.
But it's very obvious that he's trying to also play mind games with him to make him think I'll do anything. Like, there are no limits to what I'll do.
Like, I can do unthinkable things.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
he does. He does
Yeah.
say that, but we'll get to that, because that was that Family Guy ha-ha moment.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, he's playing mind games with him, and then it's interesting because the general that's in there says that he's not going to be a part of this, and gives I don't even know what the other officer, I don't know, Irby's even an officer, the guy that he puts in charge, whatever rank he was.
I'm not sure if it ever said.
Well, whatever rank he was, gives him complete control, says, I'm out, you do this. And a lot of the military people are not happy.
No.
Because apparently, obviously, Samuel L. Jackson can take it to the extreme, which we will see later, but everybody knows this except for Agent Brody.
Yes.
Which almost sounds like Adrian Brody. But anyway, he, she talks to him, and it's very apparent that she is not agreeing with the things that he's done, because after he freaks out on that guy, she just goes ballistic, which honestly plays into a lot of the movie too, because I feel like they kind of counteract each other.
I think that's like the point. It's almost like extreme good cop, bad cop.
They're yin and yang,
Yeah.
basically, which I thought was good. Because he even, says, you're going to help me interrogate him because you are a decent human being.
Exactly.
So she has morals.
Yeah.
And then basically they play some mind games with him. You know, Samuel L. Jackson eventually says, "You need me," and the guy goes, "Yes," reluctantly. "Do whatever you need to do. Figure it out." And oh boy, does he do it.
Yeah, basically after that, the next 30 minutes of the movie is Samuel L. Jackson trying to extract information and trying to determine if he's lying or not and when he's telling the truth, and Agent Brody trying to, make sure that Samuel L. Jackson's character doesn't go too far and trying to verify the information provided.
Because I think the first time that you really see him do what he's going to do is when he chops off like the tip of his pinky, and she sees this and just freaks out.
Immediately goes in and tries to stop him.
Which was the plan all along, right?
Yeah, this was all Samuel L. Jackson's intent for how he wanted this to play out.
So let's talk about him first, because I think his character is extremely interesting. Because
his backstory is very vague, but it's apparent by how he interacts with the military personnel and how he interacts with the FBI personnel and how he interacts with all the officials, and also how he interacts with the prisoner. That he's been in situations like this before, and he's knowledgeable about how people think, and he understands their psychology, which is an interesting placement, because he is super intelligent and super, I know what's going to happen next, but so is Yusuf's character. So it's almost like a battle of the minds between them.
I feel like theirs was, I mean, I felt like everybody was a battle of wits, but it was really between those two, because it's obvious from the start that Samuel L. Jackson's character, H, knows what Yusuf is going to do, because he even says, he's been trained by the military. Those techniques that you're using are not going to work on him because he's been trained to resist them.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you talk about H, it, like you said, his backstory is vague, but it's obvious that he knows what he's doing, and he's garnered a reputation for doing whatever it takes. But is his approach okay?
So, I mean, that's the main thing that we should talk about in regards to this, because it's a matter of perspective. If you're, from a certain perspective, then you'll see his methods as, barbaric and evil. He's cutting off people's fingers. He's
torturing them.
Basically. Yeah, he's essentially doing things that are considered torture.
Which he justifies as saying we've been doing it since the dawn of time.
Yeah, every human civilization has done this. And alternatively, if I don't do this, then at least 10 million people are definitely going to die when these nukes go off.
Yeah, because he has, what did they say?
15 to 18 pounds
of uranium. Was it uranium?
It's not fiscal. Fissionable.
The fiscal year?
No,
15 to 18 pounds of fiscal year. That's a lot.
Fissionable material. I don't think it specifically says
nuclear fission.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we're not scientists.
Yeah, no, I don't actually know anything about nukes, but he has 18 pounds, potentially up to 18 pounds of things that go boom, nuke style.
Yes, that he acquired from a deal with the Russians.
I believe it's the Russians.
So anyway, that's not relevant. But what is relevant is
these countries reported it to the United States so that they would be like, we aren't the ones doing this. This wasn't us.
This was literally him, because I think the line is, they told us so we wouldn't bomb the crap out of them.
Exactly.
Which I thought was interesting that they included that.
Well, so the reason that that's relevant is because that's this is a little bit later on, but that's the reason that Samuel L. Jackson knew that he was lying during the point where Yusuf was finally willing to give information.
Right, but I think he knew he knew that, which was interesting. I guess we can talk about that, but let's talk about Carrie-Anne Moss's character first, because she's very by the book.
Yeah.
I mean, she even says, I think at a couple points, you can't do this to another human being. So she's the opposite end of the spectrum.
She is the morally good character. She's lawful good.
Yes. This is wrong. You can't do this. Her approach to it is let me talk to him and use my wits, basically. And I'm going to say something. And there is a moment where she thinks that she's connected with him because she says something about his wife and kids, and he like breaks down, and you can instantly see her, kneel down, start touching him and stuff because she thinks that she's getting somewhere with him. Then he immediately says something will happen tomorrow, and that's it. Then he just shuts off. But that, her, so you have two very different approaches, and then you can see her get visibly upset and being like, just tell me.
Exactly. Are they real?
Are they real? Which is what she uses, because eventually what ends up happening is she thinks that she's made a breakthrough.
Gotten through, convinced him to be straightforward and honest and truthful.
To which he reveals the location of one of the bombs in, was it Dallas? I think it was the Dallas one.
I'm unsure. I know that Dallas is one of the bombs that they had, but I don't know if it's the one that he gave them.
So the one that he gives them, they go to.
Yes.
And when they go there, because there were videos that he looked at, all three of the rooms and showed them. So they compare the photo that they have of the scene where the bomb's in to the room that they're in, and it matches up, but there's no bomb. And she thinks that this is very weird, tries to go up on the roof to figure out what's going on. She thinks that it's in a different place. And I don't know who the dude is that does it.
Just a random soldier or...
This is literally the dumbest thing in the movie. Like, I'm going to make a whole new segment called Dumb Things in Movies, and this one's going to take the cake. Because if you are dealing with a guy who constructed bombs, okay?
And you're allegedly somewhere to disarm/destroy the bomb.
And you see a picture of the dude's face taped to something, and your first instinct is to go, what's this? And then pull it off.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Why are you doing this? But when that happens, a mall blows up.
Yeah, a shopping mall that looks like it's maybe down the street blows up and 53 people die.
Yes, including men, women, and children, I think, which sets Agent Birdie, we'll call her Helen, into an absolute frenzy. And I think that this is a really important scene because she hurts him.
Yeah.
And he looks at her and says, go on, do it. I love my country. So I think, he's doing it because he feels like it's right.
Well, so this is not a super popular phrase, or I mean, I guess it is, but one person's terrorist is another person's freedom fighter.
Yes.
And I've been referring to this individual as a terrorist, but he could be perceived as a freedom fighter because his whole goal, once he made his demands, was to get U.S. troops out of Islamic countries.
Yeah, that was it.
And to stop, U.S. interference with Islamic affairs, which, I don't have a personal opinion in regards to any of that. But in Yusuf's mind, he was not a bad person. He was not doing anything wrong, which is very, very important.
Right. Because, and I think that, it really delves into his psyche because he says these phrases that you would think are kind of counteractive because he says that he loves his country, yet he's willing to blow up parts of it. So why is that? But, he's an interesting character all on his own because he is incredibly intelligent. And it's not revealed at first, but like you said, when he makes his demands, and everybody thinks it's super reasonable except for who is it?
It's the general or it's the person in charge.
The CIA guy.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he's CIA, but
whatever agency. I don't know if it's discussed, but the person that was made in charge by the general when he was leaving earlier in the film. He's the person placed in charge. So it's believed that, or I would imagine he's like U.S. representative from like the Pentagon or White House or
And I think so
super high
too.
up in the government.
Well, I think so too because he says, I'm not going to go upstairs and call the president based off of this. We need to know that they're real.
Exactly.
And then when the bomb goes off, it's very obvious that what he's saying is real. He's not messing around. I mean, this all happens on the day that he says something is going to happen, which was Thursday, I think.
Yes.
So then Friday rolls around and everybody is going crazy.
Yeah, it's right now we have to figure this out. We have to get this done because the bombs are going off in, less than today. They're going off today.
Yeah, they're going off today. We have to do this because it was like noon, I think, is what they set them for.
Yeah, I remember the big point was we have 3 hours left. We're not gonna be able to do it in time.
Yeah, they really drove that one home.
Yeah, and
the thing that I think is different when you look at Yusuf and you look at H, they are, in their minds, they're both doing it for their country.
Yeah, neither of them are happy about what they're doing because Yusuf, the 53 people that died at the shopping mall, he was like their martyrs.
Right.
And Samuel Jackson's character H is essentially asking, Helen, please tell me this is okay.
Yes.
Because he knew it was wrong. He didn't feel good about it. It was obvious that he didn't feel good about it. He indicated that he was a prisoner there too.
Well, and I think the really interesting point is when Samuel L. Jackson says, or when H says, I'm just as much of a prisoner too.
Yeah.
And then he goes later on in the film, he killed 53 people and I'm the bad guy for what I'm doing.
Well, that was after he murdered his wife? Murdered Yusuf's wife?
Yes, because they get Yusuf's wife in there, and then in order to basically make it to where
Yusuf
he is well aware that he can do anything, he randomly just kills her and she dies. She had nothing to do with anything, but everybody was potentially. But everybody was freaking out about that, and he's like, well, I'm the bad guy.
Yeah.
So, because the thing that I really like about this movie is who's right and who's wrong.
I mean,
is there a definitive answer on that one?
I mean, I'm pretty sure that the way we're supposed to feel is that Samuel or that Karen or
Helen.
Yes.
H. Helen and H.
Yeah, that I think that we're supposed to feel like Helen's character is correct. Because I just bumped the table. I apologize if anyone was able to hear that. But I think that we're supposed to agree with her. We're supposed to feel like she is the right person. You know what I mean?
Right. Because what H is doing is barbaric.
Right.
But at the same time, what would you do in that situation? Like, how would you handle it?
I mean, I don't think that there is a solution, and based on the way the movie played out, like I don't think that we're supposed to know.
Well, and that's kind of what I liked because I think no matter what, there are wrong. Like everybody's right and everybody is wrong. They all believe that what they're doing is right, and they all believe that what the other person is doing is wrong. And no matter which way you look at it, they're all bad guys.
Oh, absolutely.
For what they're doing.
Absolutely. Sam or H is bad for torturing this person, and Yusuf is bad for making bombs and killing people, obviously.
And Helen is bad because she's not stopping it, because he says several times, why don't you stop him? And then the point that it really drives home, and none of these people are good, is when, I mean, I'm not going to go into details with it. You can watch it because it's kind of messed up. But when Yusuf's kids get involved.
Yeah. H makes it appear that he's going to torture the children in order to get Yusuf to talk. However, once he makes
Can we say that?
What do you mean?
Can we like say that?
Torture the children?
Yeah.
Um,
Like, can we say that without being like demonetized? Because
I mean, we're not monetized at this point anyway.
I mean that's fair.
But I mean, regardless, we're talking like in context of this movie.
Yes.
In this movie, H is an interrogator, Yusuf is a terrorist, and H threatens to or makes it appear that he's going to torture these children in order to get Yusuf to give information regarding to where the bombs are.
Right.
However, he is unable to get all of the relevant information because he is stopped by Agent Helen Agent Brody, which is also Helen, and all of the other individuals, military, government agents, because they think he's going to hurt the kids.
And then when that doesn't happen and the kids leave, and he says, if you want to continue, bring them back in here kicking and screaming, looking at Helen and saying you're the only person that can do it because you're the only decent person. So if you can do it, then literally anybody can do it. And it's at that point that she says no. So H says okay, and cuts Yusuf loose, and then he grabs a gun because the FBI, CIA, military, Pentagon person points a gun at H and says, finish it. And then you really see how terrible he is.
Yeah, I mean, you see that it's the government making, this unwilling person torture this other person.
Yeah, because he says, remember, H, we have your kids.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, what? Like, why would you do that? But then it all becomes apparent that that's what it is. So, God, this movie was super dark the more I talk about it.
Yeah, but Yusuf takes his gun and then kills himself with it because, he doesn't want to be tortured anymore, and he doesn't want to accidentally give up what he hasn't already given up.
Right, because at that point, it's been abundantly clear that because he gives away the 3 locations.
Yeah.
And H says, before he lets him out there, that you're right, that's not it. There's a 4th bomb. And they're like, no, there's not. And he goes, I don't know about you, but when I add it up and starts giving the weights and stuff, he says that only equals 13.5 pounds. But if you add a 4th one, that equals 18.
Which is the amount that we were told is missing, or probably missing.
So there's a 4th bomb, and think about it. Because one thing that is super interesting and really sets up Yusuf's character is when they figure out that he wanted all of this. This is what he wanted. Because he goes to a mall after he sends in the tape, and there's video footage of him standing there for 23 minutes, just standing there until finally the security guards come over and arrest him. So it's obvious that he wanted to be caught.
Yeah, everything that happened is something he anticipated. He even anticipated having to give up the 3 bombs.
Right, which is why he made a 4th one.
Exactly.
And he also anticipated what was going to happen to him, but he wanted to highlight how horrible these people are. That was the whole point.
Exactly.
He was doing it to be like, this is what's going on. These people are terrible people. But you think I'm the bad person?
Exactly.
So, and that's what, it's just like who's right and who's wrong. I feel like there's not a good way to say that, but
no, I mean there really isn't, and it's all a matter of perspective.
Right. This is a very perspective driven movie, I think. Because I know when I was watching it at the start of it, there were times where I was like, okay, I know exactly what I would do. And then by the end of it, I was not 100% sure what I was going to do. If I was put in that situation, it was like, what can you do?
Exactly. Like, it's unthinkable.
Aha. Yeah, it is unthinkable, but I think that's where the movie shines, is when you really start dissecting it and looking at this and asking these questions of, how far is too far?
Yeah, or is it right? Is it wrong? And we haven't said it yet, but there's actually 2 different endings to this movie,
which I don't agree with.
Well, so realistically, I think there is one ending, and then there is the extended version, which pretty much just confirms what has already been stated throughout the movie. Because
because we'll go over it in hard facts, because it was a hard fact that I found that I thought was interesting. But we can talk about it now. But there's the standard ending where she walks outside with the kids, and she looks at H, and he says, "It was good working with you." And they don't know if there's a fourth bomb, but everybody's pretty sure there is.
yeah,
So they walk outside, she has the kids, and then the movie ends. That's it.
roll credits.
But the alternate ending,
Basically, the alternate ending is after that scene, it shows them disarming one of the bombs, and then the camera pans out and pans over to like a hidden area inside the same building, and then it slowly zooms in on a ticker counting down, and it's clearly another bomb, and it goes 4, 3, 2, 1, roll credits. But it's clearly going to explode. It's clearly another bomb, and it's clearly set up to kill all the people disarming that bomb and to cause destruction in the nearby area.
and that was because so your hard fact. Well, there's more, but this one is basically the test audiences that watched this were confused because there wasn't a resolve. It was kind of open-ended and in the air, but I mean, like you said, if you paid attention, there was a fourth bomb. It was obvious that there was a fourth bomb. Yusuf did everything the way that he wanted to do.
Yeah, it was all planned.
Yeah, it was all. I mean, there are several points in the movie where H says, he's going to win. You're letting him win. And I think, yes, he did win, if you look at it like that, through everything, because he outsmarted everybody.
And his bomb went off.
Except for H, who I don't know. I mean, I don't know, man. His character's so different and bizarre. But one thing that really stuck out with me is when she's talking to his wife, right?
When Agent Brody.
When Agent Brody's talking to his wife, because he takes a break and his wife comes, gives him food, and then they're out having this little picnic with the laptop open, and it's a Skype call with his kids. And she can't believe that he can just do this. So she confronts him, and he goes, "All right, time to go back to work." And then while he's walking away, she asks her, like, "Do you know what he does?" And she goes, "Yes." And then she asks her, "Well, how are you okay with that? He's not a good person." So she's a little backstory on her is she's like a refugee from
Bosnia.
And during the war, she said what happened was she was home with her kids, and then without getting too graphic in detail with it, her neighbors, who she thought were good people that had helped her, came over and brutalized her and her children in front of her. And she was like, "Those men I thought were good men. So what's the difference?" Is because I guess that's the other question, is what is humanity capable of? Like, what is a person capable of?
Yeah, I mean, there are many events throughout our history as humans that shows that we're all capable, or not all of us, but human beings in general are capable of great evil.
Human beings are capable of anything that we set our minds to, right? Because you watch these things and you go, well, how could, this person commit all these atrocities? Well, when you think about it, it's super simple and easy because they wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, there are points in history where we can show examples of, like, nuclear bombs going off. Like,
yeah. I mean, the Oklahoma City bombing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What was the point of that? Why? And I think everybody tries to justify it by trying to find a motive. I guess justify would be like the wrong word, but why did he do it? Find the motive behind it. And sometimes there is no motive.
Yeah, exactly. Which, I mean, in this, there was a clearly defined motive.
Right. There was, which I feel like if there wasn't a clearly defined motive,
Then this would be a lot easier movie to watch.
yes, but because there is a motive, and when you
Look,
think about it,
it's not outrageous.
no, it's not like those other action movies where you get like the bank robbers and they're holding hostages and they say, here are my demands, I want 2 million, $4 billion or whatever on 2 helicopters and out of here and safe passage. Like,
Yeah, he's like, no, I just want you guys to leave, Islamic-based countries alone.
and he even says, I'll give it time. That's okay.
Yeah, he was not being he was being unreasonable because he placed nukes and stuff,
Extremely.
but his motives weren't unreasonable.
No, and that's what makes
Not that
it
I
hard.
agree with him.
No,
Obviously.
we don't agree with what anybody did or said in this movie, I guess, except for Agent Brody when she says, "You can't do this. This is wrong." Okay, well, I don't agree with what was going on, but
I mean, sometimes a little torture is necessary.
uh, but is it?
Yeah, sometimes a little torture is necessary.
Well, so then this also gets into the argument that she points out and says, if you torture somebody, they will tell you whatever you want to hear, eventually.
Yeah, I mean, depending on how you do it, you can get them to say things that aren't true to get you to stop, but
Right. So is it effective, or should you break them
mean-
down psychologically and talk with them?
I mean, you can do both at the same time. That's what
H does.
That's what good cop, bad cops do. That's what they were trying to do in this.
Right.
Like-
Well, and that also, I mean, so I'm going to bring this up because I think this is an interesting question to ask. Is physical torture worse than psychological torture?
I mean, that's a matter of perspective.
Right. But I mean, like, for you, what do you think? Is it better, worse, or about the same?
I don't have a legitimate frame of reference.
So I'm gonna say it's about the same. I think no matter what you call it, still torture, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't have like an opinion on which is worse because I've never been physically or psychologically tortured
Right.
in a legitimate sense,
Right, but
unless you count like, annoying people being present for extended periods of time as psychological torture,
no.
or being forced to like go outside and run as physical torture.
Well, if that's the case, then I've been doing that to myself because.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like I said, I don't have a frame of reference because I've never experienced legitimate torture.
Right. I haven't either, but I mean, it's still torture no matter how you look at it, right?
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean-
sure both are very unpleasant.
They're both probably extremely unpleasant, so I don't think it matters. But all in all, I think that the movie has a lot of discussion, and I think a lot of people are going to be either Agent Brody or H.
Yeah, there are going to be people who are super compassionate and they're like, oh, any torture is wrong. And there are going to be other people who are like, well, no, if there's potential lives in danger, the many over the few every time.
Right. It's the what's that? The trolley car experiment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what it is. Should you murder one to save 1,000? What's the right option? Is murder?
Exactly.
I don't know, but that's like all philosophy. So, and philosophy is good, but bad sometimes. But that's a whole different podcast.
I'm more of a falafel over philosophy.
A falafel.
It was supposed to be funny. It didn't come out as funny as it was in my mind.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't even know what a falafel is.
It's like food.
What? Like food?
Yeah, it's I think it's like a Greek dish maybe.
I'm gonna Google it real quick. I'm gonna Google falafel. I don't even think I printed it. I don't know. That'll be it is a street food. Oh, it's like hush puppies.
Yeah.
Falafel is a deep fried ball or patty shaped fritter made from ground chickpeas, broad beans, or both. Okay, so it's like a hush puppy.
What's the country of origin?
Country of origin, Middle East is what it says.
Oh, I was wrong.
So-
I guessed Greek.
Well, I mean, depending on how you look at it,
Yeah.
that could be that Middle Eastern. I don't know.
No, I don't. I don't actually know. I think the only time I've ever had it is at Mediterranean places, which, have Greek food. They also have like other food. They have like shish kebabs and stuff.
I mean, I could move to a Mediterranean place and be content and happy with life.
I don't do fish like that.
I love fish, dude. If I could eat fish every day, like if we had like a fish market, because living where we live, there is no such thing as real seafood. I don't know why you're looking at me like that.
I was just gonna make a joke about like.
No, go ahead, make the joke.
Well, I mean, I mean, it's not very funny. I was gonna
No, go
say
ahead,
you
make the
could go
joke.
to you could go to like a strip club and get like a seafood fish market type thing, but it's not very funny.
Yeah, you gotta work on your delivery there, bud.
No, I mean, I recognize that it wasn't funny. That's why I wasn't gonna say it. You pressured me.
Oh, I did, but that's okay because I wanted to hear the joke. You gotta overcome your fears.
I mean that's fair.
I mean, otherwise, it's unthinkable, right?
Absolutely unthinkable.
Absolutely unthinkable. I think we could have done a whole podcast just saying things that were unthinkable.
Like wearing socks with sandals.
Oh, you mean what I'm doing right now? With my well, I mean,
Unthinkable.
it's not really sandals. It's like slides,
Shut up.
but they're friends. Which I bought these as a joke, actually, because I think they're like $15 at Walmart. They're super convenient, but I will say that they are slick. Because I walked into Walmart. I think the first time I walked into Walmart with them, I just about busted ass.
Well, I mean, I'm of the opinion that if you go to like out in public, you're supposed to be wearing clothes, and I don't consider slip-on shoes as clothes.
This is literally okay. So let me ask you a question.
Even if you have socks on with them, you disgusting monster.
No, because that's better. Because if you wear flip flops, okay, and you got them nasty toes that probably have toe fungus,
The only time you're supposed to wear flip-flops
is when you're at the beach.
is at the beach or in your own house as like a house shoe slipper type thing. You're not supposed to wear them out in public.
You don't wear flip flops and like house shoes. What are you talking about?
When I lived in West Virginia and I had a wooden floor, I would wear them as house shoes because like
You just don't go barefoot.
yeah, well sometimes like I don't know, wooden floors like especially in West Virginia where it's like dusty and stuff, or at least it was more dusty in the area I was in. Like my floors, even if I swept them, if I didn't sweep and mop like 2 or 3 times a week, then I would walk through the floors and I would have dirty feet because my floors had like a permanent layer of dust. So if I wore flip-flops, then I could like take my flip-flops off when I climbed into bed without getting my bed dirty from having like dirty feet. Because I'm not nasty.
Okay. I mean, I get that. But we're not in West Virginia?
You don't think the floors here are dirty?
I mean, I think every floor is dirty.
Right. So house shoes are appropriate.
No.
Sometimes.
Wear socks. Do you get out of bed and put on your slippers?
I might.
In your bathrobe?
It's a panda robe, but yeah.
Okay, see? Why?
Because I'm a grown adult who's grown to love comfort.
I mean, is that really comfort?
You've clearly never wore a panda robe.
I have not. No, you are correct. And I guess I've never worn house shoes that were like walking on air.
Yeah.
So because of that, I don't know. Because, I mean, these aren't comfortable, but I needed to run and take out the trash.
That's unthinkable.
It's not unthinkable. It's unthinkable to think that I would put on my tennis shoes when I could just slide these on because all I'm doing is taking out the trash.
But then you're committing a cardinal sin of wearing those type of shoes with socks.
There's literally no such thing as a cardinal sin. People do it all the time.
It's vile.
How is it vile?
It's just weird, bro.
Would you like to see my nasty, disgusting feet?
No, because when you go outside and you're in public, you're supposed to have regular human shoes on.
Who says that?
Most stores.
but you can walk in stores with flip flops and sandals.
Yeah, that's because they aren't super specific about what a shoe legitimately is, but a sandal isn't a shoe.
Okay, I'm gonna Google this real quick because I need to know.
Well, I mean, this is more of like we're supposed to be like sharing opinions and not trying to Google things and like
Okay, but this one we need to Google. Is a sandal? You do sandal or no? I'm gonna do flip flop. Flip flop a shoe. Yeah, this one there is no debate on. Much like boots. Okay, so whether heeled or flat sandals, much like boots and even rubber slippers, I guess count. So Crocs. Are Crocs shoes?
they're closer to shoes than flip flops
Okay, so
because they
flip-flop.
enclose your feet even
Well,
though they're holes.
These are considered shoes by Google because they are shoes. Now, Crocs are not shoes.
Um, there's okay.
No, no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead. Tell me your opinion on Crocs.
I think Crocs are closer to shoes than flip flops because your feet are generally enclosed.
Okay, but if I don't wear socks with those, you can still see my toes through the holes.
Right, but I don't think they're shoes. They are more shoes than flip flops because they are generally enclosed.
So it's like the trans. Okay, so what about those super weird? It's like I don't even know how to
The toe
describe it.
finger shoes?
No, but they're like that, but they're not shoes. You just like slap this pad on the bottom of your feet.
I've never seen that, so I don't have an opinion.
Okay, so we'll go to the rubber toe shoes.
Shoes, because your feet are enclosed.
But it looks like feet.
It doesn't matter how they look as long as your feet are enclosed.
Okay, so your definition of a shoe is anything that encloses the entire foot.
Yeah, so boots to me are shoes. However, flip flops are not shoes.
Well, boots are boots.
But they
though.
they enclose the foot. Is the point. It is unthinkable to think anything else.
No, it's unthinkable to think that all of this. No, man, there's totally different. Okay, so what is what are Vans?
Vans are shoes, they enclose the foot.
Okay, what is
Ballet shoes?
yeah?
They're shoes because they enclose enough of the foot to be enclosed. Like the toes and stuff are covered for like it's an actual covering.
Okay, so what if there are like subsections and groups of shoes?
No, I agree that there are.
Like there's shoes at the top,
Yeah,
and then branches off, and one of those categories is flip flops.
No, flip flops is an adjacent category because it doesn't enclose the feet, in my opinion. But like I said, this is just my opinion. There's no legitimate relevance to this.
There is no legitimate relevance, but you know what there is legitimate relevance to?
Hard facts?
Hard facts. So, do you have any hard facts?
Not really. For this movie, other than like the alternate ending.
So I have two.
Okay.
Okay, so the first one's not really that exciting, I guess. This was a direct-to-video movie, which I guess is exciting because most of the direct-to-video movies that I watch are not that good.
This was definitely better than general direct-to-video movies. However, I can also see why this would be a direct-to-video movie because I feel like theater audiences would some of them would be very offended by some things in this movie.
I mean, this is a very controversial topic.
Yeah.
So, which I think I'll put that in the display that this is a controversial topic that we're talking about. So viewer discretion is advised.
Yeah.
And then the other hard fact that I have is the assistant to H. His name is Steve. I wrote his last name down. Lucasu.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm butchering that last name, I know. So Steve L. And the interesting fact about him is that he's actually like a stunt coordinator and has been in several different films. I'm not going to list them all off, but you probably have seen him do something at some point.
As a stuntman?
As a stuntman / stunt coordinator, so he probably trained people.
That's pretty cool.
But yeah, so I thought that was kind of interesting. That's kind of why he doesn't really talk, I guess. But he can act. Because if you take that into consideration, Zoe Bell, the stunt double for Uma Thurman and Kill Bill,
Okay.
is in a lot of Tarantino movies now because I think our first one was Death Proof, which she did all of her own stunts, obviously. But she was a stunt double that Tarantino just liked and cast her in the role of a movie. And I mean, she's even like in The Hateful Eight and stuff.
That's pretty cool.
So, but yeah, those are really the hard facts besides the alternate ending, which shouldn't have been an alternate ending. Shouldn't have been an ending.
Well, I mean, I'm not opposed to it being an ending, but I think that it should be like verbalized as an extended cut, which I don't know if it is. I think when I Googled it as alternate ending and it's what popped up. But I would call this an extended cut rather than an alternate ending because generally alternate endings change how it ends. And this just adds more narrative onto how it ends.
Right. It doesn't really change anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think it was only on the DVD. Well, I mean, this was direct to DVD, so it doesn't really matter. The one where'd you watch it?
I watched it for free on Tubi.
Okay, I paid $2.99 or $3.99. I can't remember for Amazon. So well worth the money. So obviously, if you want to go the free route, Tubi is the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I would have not felt bad about renting it because while I gave it like a 3.5, I still think it was a solid movie.
So because you think it's a solid movie, what else could you recommend people watch? Because this one I had a tough time with.
So in regards to like morality, I would say that maybe 7, because it kind of touches on morality a little bit.
I think 7 touches on morality a lot. So okay, I'll give that one to you.
So I would say 7 because of the touches on morality. If it's just like the what the movie's actually about. There was a movie made with Mark Wahlberg in it a few years ago about the Boston Marathon bombing.
Oh yeah.
And it has a very similar vibe. Like watching it, I felt many of the same emotions as I felt watching this movie.
Because I mean,
I can't remember what it's called right now because I just thought of it.
I know what you're talking about though.
But yeah, I want to say it's like a 2016, 2017 Mark Wahlberg film about the Boston Marathon bombing.
So if you take it like at face, what was that? And I mean, maybe this is a stretch, because I think it also had a lot to do with morality. And I just thought of it too. But since you said Mark Wahlberg, what was that movie? Lone Survivor.
I don't know if I've seen that.
That's like the one where it's based off of a true story, and basically this guy's whole battalion or whatever, the guys that he's with get shot and killed, and he ends up being severely injured, so he retreats to a Middle Eastern town where they believe that if you have a guest, you should treat them with the utmost respect, and they like nurture him back to health and basically keep the Taliban, I think it was, away from him, because the Taliban comes looking for him to kill him, and they won't give him up. So
yeah, I don't think I've seen that.
I mean, it's hard to watch at certain points, but it also has this morality thing of these people don't know him, and you could technically consider them the enemy if you just take it at face value and they're helping him. So that's morality, I think.
Yeah.
And then I want to say there was another movie this kind of reminded me of. What was it? Law Abiding Citizen.
I don't know if I've seen that either. Like I said, this isn't generally the type of film I watch.
And it's not really generally the type of film that I watch either. But it was recommended to me.
No,
so.
This was our first viewer recommendation.
Yes. And I mean, it was good, so I'm definitely going to take viewer recommendations. And I think it's also good to take viewer recommendations sometimes because it does get us out of our comfort zone. Yeah.
Which, that being said, if anyone has any viewer recommendations, feel free to join our Facebook group, Two Idiots, One Podcast, with the same banner that we have as our profile photo on most platforms.
Except for Apple, for some weird reason, that decided to put Two Idiots, One Podcast in big white letters across the middle of it. We are working on fixing that. So hopefully by the time this episode goes out in a week, we will have that corrected.
Absolutely.
So if not, though, just ignore it. And Apple, if you're listening, why you got to do that? Nobody else does it. Why you got to do it?
But yes, if you have any viewer recommendations, feel free to hop on there, type us a little comment, or if you have any of our, information, you can reach out to us that way.
Yes, if you are one of the people listening that has my cell phone number, should I just give out my cell phone number?
Yeah, do it.
Just do it.
Why not?
Why not? I'm not gonna do that
I
because
not recommend doing that.
I get a lot of really weird spam calls now, so I don't want to accidentally have somebody that listens and I pick up the phone and just start messing with them. I really don't want that to happen because we will lose a listener that way.
Yeah. I when I get telemarketers calling me, I harass them back. So if I was to give my number out and a potential fan was to call and it was a number I didn't recognize, I would probably immediately start harassing them.
Oh yeah, so if someone is like a telemarketer or a scammer, whichever one, because I get both. My go-to thing is to sell them Girl Scout cookies, and they don't like that. They want to sell you a product, but when you try to sell it to them, they are very rude with you and will just hang up. So
Unbelievable.
it's
That's
unthinkable.
unthinkable.
It's unthinkable and unbelievable. But so I have a little bit of this is my retaliation against you for last week on Bailey's Babbles.
Uh-huh.
So this Taylor Talk segment was going to be completely different, but after our phone conversation last night, I changed it.
Did we have a phone conversation last night?
Yeah. Remember I called you while I was editing? You don't remember that?
I barely remember anything.
Okay. So this makes this even better because I'm going to put you on the spot. So I want to kind of piggyback off of what you said last week.
Imagine.
Well, I mean, it was kind of interesting because you've also brought it up here that this wasn't really your cup of tea. And so I want to know, what movies do you watch that you don't like, and what makes you go, I'm never watching this again?
So more often than not, if I'm watching a movie and I decide I don't like it, as bad as this sounds coming from someone who is doing a podcast that currently is reviewing movies.
Right.
Generally, if I'm watching a movie and I don't enjoy it, I turn it off. Like 9 times out of 10, if I'm watching a movie by myself, I'm going through, I find something, I'm like, oh, this looks like it could be cool. If I watch it 20, 30, 45 minutes in, I'm not having a good time for whatever reason, I'll just turn it off. I don't Google spoilers. I don't go and give it a bad review. I'm just like, oh, this isn't for me right now. And I turn it off and might watch it later.
So what makes you decide that this isn't a good movie? I'm going to turn it off.
So there are a bunch of different things. It can be bad acting. I think that the script is too generic. So here's a super specific example of a movie I turned off recently.
Oh, okay, cool.
So there is a movie called Play or Die. On it's 2019, I think, and it is on Amazon Prime right now. And then there is a movie that just released in April 2022 on Netflix called Choose or Die.
Choose or Die. Okay.
They are basically the same movie.
Oh.
They're not. They're totally different actors, but they're both based on, I want to say 80s or 90s games. And Play or Die, Choose or Die, similar titles.
Right. I mean, yeah.
Which I can't definitively say how deeply in they appear to be the same, because I only watched about 10 minutes of Choose or Die.
Mm-hmm.
And was like, oh, this is basically the same thing as Play or Die.
I've already seen this.
Could be a super good movie. I don't know if it is or not. I know that I stopped watching it because it appeared to be super similar to a movie that I'd also recently watched. And I was like, oh, this is going to be too predictable. I'm not going to have fun, so I'm not going to watch it.
Okay.
But that's a specific example. But the main reason is just bad acting. The script is too predictable. I'm not enjoying it. I'm being too easily distracted for whatever reason right now.
So my recent one, so I finish them even if I don't like it.
Oh, I don't.
And my recent movie that I immediately thought of when I came up with this question was Malignant.
I liked *Malignant*. I thought it was alright.
I got so incredibly mad when I watched that movie.
I thought it had a weak ending, but I thought it was a good movie overall.
That's why, because so it's no secret that I love exploitation films. I think I talked about those last week. But the reason I like them is because they're stupid. You know that they're stupid, and they don't try to hide it. This movie did not do that. And somewhere in the writer, I don't remember who the writer.
James Gunn, I think.
That's who did it?
I believe so.
Okay, well, needs to stop making movies.
Pause. I could be wrong.
Okay, I'm going to go, you look it up. I'm going to go ahead and explain what I had the issue with. Is the movie takes a complete 180. And what the movie was supposed to be, they just decide, oh, this movie's not going to hold up.
I'm sorry, James Wan, not James Gunn. I don't know.
Oh, that was the dude that did Saw, right?
I think he was the guy who did most of the Conjuring universe stuff.
Okay, that's super disappointing. Well, some of the Conjurings were weak, but I had a problem with this movie because
The Conjuring, Insidious, Malignant, Aquaman, Saw. He did Saw 2.
Okay,
or also Saw also.
Which was great.
Yeah, I mean,
first one.
He's pretty good.
Well, no, because I don't know what happened in his mind, but the way that I look at it is at some point he just said, fuck it. And just went off the rails with it. And this movie was very serious up until the ending.
Yeah.
So stuff like that.
Can't believe I said James Gunn. I'm pretty sure he did Guardians of the Galaxy and stuff.
That's why I was like, man, if he did that, he never needs to make another movie again. That's bad. But what's another one? Oh, so my big, huge pet peeve when it comes to movies is camera work.
So that usually doesn't bother me. Sometimes it's real shaky, point of view style found footage, and I like those. And then I like some that are third person and first person.
So those are different. If it is a POV found footage, I can deal with it. But when it's not supposed to be one of those and you're just recording two people and you do random close-ups of people's face or whatever when they're talking, or you can tell that they didn't like the camera angle, so they zoomed out slightly, that bothers me a lot.
I don't know. That stuff usually doesn't bother me all too much.
I will not like a movie because that's all I'll focus on. I'll hyperfixate on the camera work.
So I'll do that if I think they're pronouncing something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's not an accent thing. If someone has a different accent, I recognize that, and it's not an issue. But
right,
I can't think of any specific examples right now. But there have been movies that I've historically watched where they'll pronounce a video game character's name wrong, or it'll be based on a book, and in the book they'll specifically or describe how they sound or how they talk or what inflections and stuff they use.
You mean when someone mispronounces one and says gun?
Well, no, those are two different last names.
Oh,
that was
a bad joke. Never mind.
Yeah,
it's okay. Ha 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 ha. Anyway, continue.
But yeah.
Is there anything else that you just don't like and you're like, nah, this movie's terrible?
No, usually not. Usually it's just I'm either easily distracted or it seems bland, predictable, or the acting is bad. Bad camera work doesn't really bother me. Bad scripts usually doesn't bother me as long as the concept's cool enough.
Bad dialogue
bothers
is
an issue.
A lot.
Yeah.
A bad script does too.
I mean, isn't that kind of the same thing?
I mean, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's basically the same thing or you have that one person who does not know how to act.
Yeah, it doesn't.
They take the Nicolas Cage approach.
I like Nicolas Cage, and I would argue, and I know this is probably not a very popular opinion, but even watching his quote-unquote bad movies, Ghost Rider and pretty much everything he did from like 2010 or 11 until like 2018.
Especially that one movie that shall not be named, but all I can think of is The Beast. Oh, you know what movie it is. The Beast. Oh, they're everywhere.
No, I don't recall.
Have you never seen The Wicker Man?
Oh, that was earlier. That was like mid 2000s.
That's literally his worst.
The Wicker Man wasn't that bad.
Yes.
That is not his worst movie.
That is 100. Well, so what's his worst movie then?
I would argue Ghost Rider was worse than Wicker Man.
I would argue that Ghost Rider is definitely down there and probably above. I would say it's above Wicker Man, because is there a part in Ghost Rider that became a meme?
The whole movie could be a meme, realistically.
Realistically, all of the Wicker Man could be a meme, but the part that is a meme is, oh, bees, you know.
Speaking of Nicolas Cage, have you seen Killer Out of Space?
I have not.
It's pretty solid. It's on, I believe it's on Shudder still. I know it used to be on Shudder.
So speaking of Nicolas Cage, did you watch Mandy?
I did.
Okay, what'd you think?
It wasn't bad.
I hated it. Okay, and what's your favorite Nicolas Cage? We're gonna do a whole Nicolas Cage podcast one day. All we're gonna do is just dissect Nicolas Cage movies. But what's your favorite Nicolas Cage movie?
You know, that's pretty hard. As silly as it sounds, I really like Next. I know that that's probably not my favorite, but I don't have like a full list of Nick Cage movies pulled up.
Okay, so my top two, which you can disagree with me, that's fine. Number 1, Willy's Wonderland.
Willy's Wonderland wasn't bad.
There are genuinely hilarious moments in that movie. And number 2, Gone in 60 Seconds.
See, I haven't seen Gone in 60 Seconds recently enough to have a valid opinion.
Well, and I mean, I'm basing all of mine off of childhood nostalgia.
Yeah.
So, because my
Willy's
dad,
Wonderland is relatively new, isn't it?
Well, no, on Gone in 60 Seconds.
Oh,
Willy's
okay.
Wonderland I just love because he doesn't talk. Like, if we're being completely honest. And then when he does talk, it's just so funny.
I feel that.
But no, the one that I legitimately, Gone in 60 Seconds, my dad likes it a lot, so he would watch it whenever I was a kid. So every memory I have with Gone in 60 Seconds is basically nostalgia. So maybe it's not that good, but I don't know.
Well, so that's how it is with, I mean, this is another tangent, but that's how it is with me in Pulp Fiction.
I'm sorry, what?
That's how it is with me in Pulp Fiction.
No, I really didn't hear you. What?
Pulp Fiction.
Okay. What about it?
So it's a movie that I watched a bunch when I was like younger, because my dad always had it on, and I didn't realize that's where I knew it from until I was in high school, or like maybe older, maybe like early out of high school, like right when I joined like the army and stuff and was doing all of that. Because I rewatched it one time, and when I was rewatching it, I was like, oh, I know where I know all of this from. And it's because my dad watched it super frequently when I was growing up.
Well, we quoted that all the time in high school.
I know we did.
We had full conversations about scenes from that movie. We played out scenes in front of people, and they had no idea what we were doing.
I'm more than aware.
That's how we bonded, Bailey.
I know.
But
I also bonded with my dad over that movie, is what I'm saying.
Okay, that's fair. So, well, I guess that's it. What are we doing for next week?
So next week is we're gonna be releasing an episode just a couple days before Friday the 13th. Yes, a couple days after Friday the 13th, we're gonna be releasing another episode, and it's gonna be our Friday the 13th episode, which is gonna be Friday the 13th Part 3, because that's my favorite.
So we are going to be uploading on Wednesdays, I think is what we decided.
Yes.
So new episodes of the podcast should be every Wednesday.
Hump day.
Every hump day. If that doesn't work, if there's a different time that our audience would like, feel free to let us know. We can definitely change it. It's not a set in stone thing, but for now we'll do that. So this episode will come out before Friday the 13th. And then
the episode after Friday the 13th will be our Friday the 13th episode.
God, dude, it started. pouring. Wow. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. I too am easily distracted by the weather.
I mean, it is that season though. So, but yeah, so this will come out a couple days after, but that'll be our Friday the 13th episode, which will be nice.
Yep.
And then, so Bailey, close us on out, and we will get like, do you want to do outro or intro music?
So probably intro, like that thing that we were talking about.
Okay.
And we might be able to do outro at some point as well, or we might be able to use the same thing for both.
Oh yeah.
And just have different audio over it,
so that
depending
way,
on how long it is.
yeah, so that way we don't have to do these like awkward outros.
I mean, I like the awkward outros, but
yeah, I think it adds character.
I'm Bailey.
And I'm Taylor.
And this has been Two Idiots, One Podcast.
Bye.
Bye.